Foreshadowing is defined as a clue or clues as to what will happen later in the plot of a text. Now let's talk about what part of speech and how we use the word foreshadowing for a second, because sometimes this trips people up. So if I say that there's lots of foreshadowing in a story, that could contain all the clues that are in the story. There's no such thing as foreshadowings. We can't have foreshadowings, we can only have foreshadowing. So that's worth addressing because sometimes students get mixed up with that. Let's talk a little bit more about foreshadowing, what it can consist of, and take a look at a really nice example from the short story Love by William Maxwell. Foreshadowing in Maxwell's Love. So this is a story of a teacher who is beloved by her students who eventually gets sick and dies of tuberculosis. Let's take a look at the very beginning of the story. So here's a quote from Maxwell. "Miss Vera Brown," she wrote on the blackboard, letter by letter in flawlessly oval Palmer method, "our teacher for the 5th grade. The name might as well have been graven in stone." The first time through, you might not notice much about that statement. However, after you look into it very closely, this phrase graven in stone here becomes really important. Knowing that she dies, graven in stone sounds very similar to a gravestone, the fact that her name is written in a gravestone. Another thing one of my fabulous students pointed out to me this year that I hadn't seen before, you guys are always brilliant, is that she writes the name Miss Vera Brown, which is kind of unusual because there's no reason that a teacher would put her first name on the board, but that is what you would put on a gravestone. So I thought that was a really neat and articulate point that someone made. So let's take a look at how we could talk about foreshadowing if we were writing an analytic paragraph or essay about how foreshadowing functions in this story. So I might say the phrase graven in stone foreshadows her death by dropping a hint that Miss Brown's name will soon be written on a gravestone. Okay, so that integrates the quote from the text, graven in stone, and then we get the citation at the end there. So it's on page 44 of the New Yorker is where this is originally from, and then we have Maxwell's name. Even though graven in stone is in the middle of the sentence, we still do it that way. Just a quick little MLA thing. There are many kinds of foreshadowing. This one's very straightforward. You can kind of see it as a symbol. It's kind of the use of the phrase. It's a use of language that foreshadows. Even a mood could foreshadow something. So if the story opens in a very gloomy, creepy, haunted house-ish situation or a very cheery, bubbly, happy situation, we might be able to figure out what's going to happen in the rest of the story. We might not, but tone also has a lot to do with this. So that's a quick little look at foreshadowing. Take a look at those clues. Keep hunting for what might happen later.